Recently, I've had the privilege of fishing with some of the top anglers in the world. And although I fished on different fisheries with these anglers at different times of the year, and each angler did it in a little bit different way, there were 5 big things that each angler did that was the exact same. No matter where we went, they all did these 5 things in order to help them find bass. So in this video, we're gonna talk about those 5 things. So stay tuned, it's gonna be a good one. Now, before we talk about those 5 things, the reason that I even got to fish with those anglers is because of Gills TV. Gills TV is a recent website and app that I have created that is designed to help anglers be able to learn how to locate and find fish. Sure, you're going to learn about different techniques along the way, but the main focus of this website and app is to show anglers how an angler actually goes about locating fish. Because we all know it's not necessarily about what you throw, it's about where you go. There's a lot of times as a bass fisherman, you can be throwing the perfect bait out there and you're not gonna catch a single bass. And there's times out there where you are in the right place, throwing the wrong lure, and you are still catching fish. And so that is what Gills TV is all about, showing you guys the step-by-step process of how to locate fish. And not only that, but every member of Gills TV gets to partake in a 1-hour live session where you can actually ask different professional anglers questions about what they are doing out there on the water. Also, anyone who is a member of Gills TV will get a 10% discount on any fin fishing gear like USA made sun shirts, duck shorts, and even the new duck hats. And right now, because Gills TV is new, there is an introductory sale going on for the next week. This sale will end on Sunday, April 20th. So if you sign up today, the monthly fee is $15.99 that you will pay inevitably. If you sign up on April 21st, it jumps up to $17.99. Also, if you sign up for an annual subscription, you will also be gifted a $100 coupon for fin fishing. So if you guys are interested in learning more about how different anglers attack different bodies of water, what goes through their mind, check out gillstv.com. Also, I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the very end of this video, so make sure you hang around. Now, fish finding tip number 1 is always have a game plan. No matter who I have fished with here recently, they always have some sort of game plan when they get to the body of water. And the main purpose of this game plan is to really get them as many clues as quickly as possible so that they can get around the fish as quickly as possible. Now, some of these game plans are a little bit in depth, but some of them are not that in depth at all. For example, when I fished with Justin Atkins here recently, he had a very particular creek arm that he wanted to fish. And the reason that he wanted to fish in that creek arm is because it gave him a lot of options out there on the water. And I'm actually going to let him explain it from the Gills TV. This is a little sneak peek.
And so I'm gonna fish a couple of these main lake points first, and then we're probably gonna ease into that arm. And just because I feel like it's going to give us a lot of options. It seems like it's smaller than fishing the actual main lake, and it'll probably give us some points, it'll give us some pockets, it'll give us some ditches, it'll give us several things to kind of cycle through. That's one thing I really like to do when I get to a new lake, is kind of pick an area that I feel like has a lot of options that may tell you something that's going on. When you go to a part of the lake that only has a lot of one thing, if that thing is not the deal, you can spend a lot of time spinning your wheels. And so I feel like when you can pick a part of the lake that seems to have several different options, it'll help you kind of go through a checklist a little bit quicker and try to catch some fish.
Now, fish finding tip number 2 is be efficient out there on the water. I cannot explain how important it is as an angler to be efficient when you're out there on the water. Because I think there's a lot of us anglers where we go out on the water and we kind of just go through the motions. And what I noticed with a lot of these big name pros and even some up and coming pros is that they are very efficient with their time. They cover water efficiently. They maximize their time out there on the water. And I actually called one of my best friends after fishing with Edwin Evers because I was honestly blown away by just the little things that Edwin Evers did. For example, one of the biggest things I realized is that if myself and Edwin Evers fish the exact same area for about an hour, I feel like my bait would be in the water for like in a productive area for probably about 30 minutes of that hour. The other time was spent, you know, casting or that bait not being in the strike zone of a bass. But I think Edwin Evers probably had his bait in the strike zone of a fish for probably about 50 minutes of an hour, with literally just a very small movement of casting that was taking up the time. And so it was really impressive to me. And I know that 30 minutes versus 50 minutes may not sound like a whole lot, but when you extrapolate that out to an 8-hour day, that is a lot of extra time that your bait is in the strike zone for you to get more bites and also have the opportunity of catching a lot bigger fish. And it's really in the small details. I noticed that when Edwin, basically every single cast that he made, it landed about a foot away from the bank. So automatically it hits in the water. It is in a strike zone of a fish that's coming down. He also almost always fished kind of at that 45-degree angle. So as he brought that bait down, it was really in a strike zone for a bass, depending on what depth that they were in most of the time. And as soon as Edwin thought that that bait was not in a strike zone, he would reel it up extremely quickly and in one fluid motion make another cast, which again landed about a foot away from the bank, where I think a lot of us anglers at times were not as smooth. And that's just something that is so small. So when you're out there on the water, being efficient is a huge deal. Fish finding tip number 3 is do not overcomplicate your lure selection. No matter who I've been in the boat with here recently, it's the exact same thing every single time. Most of these anglers had about 5 to I'd say 7 rods on the front deck of their boat. And it was all baits that they had extreme amount of confidence in. It was also baits that really kind of covered the water column, from top water baits all the way to bottom bouncing baits of some sort, and everything in between. The other thing is that all these baits were like traditional bass fishing colors. I never saw something that was out of the ordinary. I mean, green pumpkins, black and blues, your shad patterns, maybe a red here and there, but I never saw any of the anglers that I fish with spend a tremendous amount of time going through colors, trying to figure out the perfect color for the situation. A lot of times it was all about simply efficiently covering water. Now, what I did see is that when these anglers would get into an area where they knew that there was a lot of fish, there was a rotation of baits that they would go through. As long as they knew that they were around some fish, they would start rotating through some baits to see maybe fish simply like a bait higher in the water column, maybe they do like it mid-depth, maybe they want something slower. I did see that. Now, tip number 4 is get good with your electronics and mapping. This is probably one of the biggest things. And I know that a lot of guys are gonna automatically assume that I am referring to forward-facing sonar, but I've actually filmed a couple of times with anglers not using forward-facing sonar at all, literally doing no FFS days. And what I saw is that these anglers still used kind of the clues that they got from their electronics a lot, whether that was simple mapping cues. You know, for example, looking at a map, looking where there were some different structure differences, or it could be things as far as looking at your 2D. You know, I fished with Justin Atkins where he completely didn't use his forward-facing sonar all day. That episode is going to be coming out in about half a week, but he would see kind of that old school spaghetti on the bottom with his 2D. And it allowed him to back off a few areas and be able to cast to some of that spaghetti and catch some fish. So no matter how you think about forward-facing sonar, the best of the best are just good with their electronics. They are good with their mapping altogether. And those simple things can really help you out there on the water to locate bass a lot quicker. Now, tip number 5 is a little bit less of a tip and more of just something I think is very important for all of us anglers to understand. And that is, I fish with a number of these different anglers like 2 days in a row. And I can tell you that almost every single angler that I fish with multiple days, they had at least one day or at least 1 6-hour period where they struggled to catch fish, where they were bouncing around from place to place, trying to locate fish. There was always times where they struggled. And so I think it's very important for all of us anglers to understand that even the best of the best of the best struggle. Now, before I lead you guys off, I do want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of Gills TV so that you can see if it is for you or for not. Something I didn't mention is that I am going to try to do about 50% of guys using their forward-facing sonar and about 50% of guys not using their forward-facing sonar. I just want to be honest with you guys and well, completely honest with you guys. So now I'm going to leave you with a little sneak peek.
We're going to get bit somewhere. If I can just figure out what they'll bite. Maybe it's going to happen right there. I won't be upset if it happens before there in here. There's one. Biggin. Biggin. Golly, that fish flushed that spinnerbait. That's how you want to get a bite, give you some confidence right there. Yes! Look at that fat sow. Awesome, awesome. All right. I just got done saying, if we're gonna get bit, it's gonna be right there. So we started all the way out at the mouth, worked our way back. Water's gotten a little bit warmer. We've had a few bites along the way. I flipped, I've kept the bait on the bottom, I've kept the bait in the middle. We finally got us a big one. It's a cool fish. Sweet, thank you, girl. Finally get a bite. My seats are, I have water all in my seats, so now my butt's wet. Get me all excited, my rod, I better retie, I hadn't retied. So, you know, one thing that I tried to establish, do they want something on the bottom? Like we flipped a jig a bunch behind these docks or something up, you know, that's our 3rd bite. Finally caught one, and all 3 of those bites have been up. So to me, that tells me, keep a moving bait in my hands. I don't have to slow down and pick this stuff apart yet. You know, that's coming in the next couple of weeks when these fish start spawning. So I'm gonna keep throwing a spinnerbait right now. Look how long that hook is. I never have to use a trailer hook with it. You know, in the spring when things are cold, you know, the trailer hook's a lot, but I'm throwing in some pretty heavy cover there. Trailer hook gets caught up a lot. We extended the shank of that, which makes it a great spinnerbait. We got to make that cast again.
After catching these first 2 bass, Edwin realized that these fish had come out of a dredged out pocket. These are areas on a lake where homeowners have dug into the lake bottom, making these pockets a little deeper than other natural pockets on the lake. To Edwin, this made a lot of sense because bass can use these type of areas to spawn in, but they also don't have to worry about water fluctuation. There is enough deep water in a dredged out pocket for bass to continue spawning even if the water drops by a foot, which can give them a lot of reassurance in ever-changing weather conditions.
Well, now we know how to come back and approach it because they were definitely set up. Oh, there's another one. Let's see if this shallower one. It's got grass. Drum. Maybe a lot of drum. Pretty weird that we didn't catch one. You know what I'm saying? Not a drum, Hunter. Just a lot of 3-pounders. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, stop. How many is there, Tyler? What'd you say? Not a little? He's not 3, but he's like 2 3/4. So switch to the 112 plus 1. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. You got to have it. You still want this jerkbait to stay above their head. So again, that's a new spot. Made a quick little change and immediately had like 3 good opportunities, and there's 20 or 30 bass there. So, but there was a little bit of a depression in that eelgrass, and there was 3 or 4 of them sitting in it. They were all about the same size too.
If you guys enjoyed that, you want to check out more Gills TV, you can click this link right here. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.